Hello. Welcome to Dark and Disturbing with Elizabeth Ellen. My name is Elizabeth. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm really glad you're here. I have today a list of 13 of the most disturbing books that I've read. Now, I haven't read every book on the planet. There's no way to do that. And I'm even in the middle of reading one book and listening to another book that may end up on lists like this one day. So, nowhere near is this like a definitive list, but I wanted to share what I think, in my reading experience, are the most disturbing, upsetting, disgusting, um, trigger warning books that out there that I have experienced. So, join me for the ride. All right. Okay, I'm going to start. And why 13? I don't know. 13's a great number. um, all of these books I have either read on Kindle or listened to through Audible. Um, so I don't have physical books to show you, but I will make sure that you can see the covers, and I will do my best to not butcher the authors' names. So, but bear with me, only human. Okay, we're going to start with Jimmy by William Malmborg. From the cover, you can sort of gather a little bit of what this book is about. This is the story of a teen, so and it's seen from his perspective, and I think that's probably what makes it so disturbing. He really he gets off, and he is turned on by females tied up. If you've seen the movie Megan is Missing, this has some Megan is Missing feeling to it. The although the girls in his custody, is that the right word? The girls that he has are survive a little longer than in Megan is Missing. But it's just a really dark tale of this teenager and how he's dealing with the fact that he really enjoys this and he knows that it's wrong, but he doesn't care because he's a teenager. Definitely has the teenager brain of, that's not completely done, which is part of what makes it so scary or disturbing. So, number 12 is Baby Teeth, a novel, and that's by Zoje, I think is the first name. Zoje, Stage, I think is how you pronounce it. If that's not right, I'm very sorry. This this book is about a sociopathic toddler into just like child age. So this is the story of a child that wants mommy out of the picture so that she can have daddy all to herself. And the things that mommy has to deal with and how she has to save herself from this child, and the way that that this very young person manipulates is just, it's fascinating and horrifying, and it's number 12 on my list. So the next one is actually one of only 2 memoirs on this list. This one is by David Pelzer, and it is called it's the title of the book is A Child Called It. This one is really rough, especially since it's a memoir, so you know that it's true and these things really happened. This is the story of, there's a sort of a phenomenon that can happen in abusive families where the abusive parent only abuses one child. So like, let's say there's 4 children in the family, only one of them is treated like less than a pet, and like just it's where all the anger and all the abuse and all of the terribleness lands is on one child, and the rest of them are just treated like normal wonderful children. It's and it's not that uncommon that happens, and it's very horrifying. And this man, David Pelzer, he actually wrote, I think, 3 different books. This is the one from when he's really little, and he's mostly at he's with his abusive mom who calls him it. So it's really rough. The next one on my list is House of Sand and Fog by Andre Dubus. No, you don't say the S's. Duba, something. The third, Andre Duba. Don't do French. I'm really, really sorry. But this was made into a movie, so I always suggest reading the book. The book is far more horrifying, far more heartbreaking. This is the story of just simple clerical errors becoming life devastating. And it takes place. There's a young woman who has lost pretty much everyone in her family, but she still has the family house. She's taking care of it. She's paid her taxes. She's taking care of it. It's all good. There's a little clerical error that says that she has not paid her taxes, even though she has. And the house gets sold on auction underneath her. And she doesn't get any money because of the clerical. Anyway, the family that buys it spends their entire life savings on this auctioned house, and it just becomes a mess of these 2 different owners of the house wanting, thinking that if as long as they had their house, everything will be okay, and they don't work together. They work against each other, and they just it's one of those books where you step away afterwards and you're like, wow. Everybody is a mess. Everyone is destroyed by this situation. It's just, stick the knife in and turn it kind of situation. So, next one, we're on to number 9, is the second memoir in this list, the only other memoir. It's called Uncultured, a memoir. It's by Daniella Mestyanek Young, is how you pronounce it. And this is fascinating and horrifying. This poor woman was born into a cult. She was born into the Children of God, which later became renamed as the Family. And this was one of the cults where with children was okay. And it was considered loving and beautiful and accepted by God, and excuse me. And the sort of policy changes when our author is about 14, but she's spent 14 years living in this horrible, abusive world, and she manages to get herself out, only to join the army and find herself in another place of having to follow unjust rules, this time because she's female. Well, both times because she's female, but this, the problem in the army is that, she's not male. And she is incredible. It's a rough story to get through, but when you get through it on the other side, it's pretty amazing, and you will want to follow her and find her on all of her socials and check her out because she's amazing. Okay, my next is, the next one is one that a lot of people talk about. It's by Lionel Shriver, and it's called We Need to Talk About Kevin. And it is about a woman who falls in love, and they decide to get married, which she thought she'd never do. And then somehow they have a child, which was never her plan. But her husband is so happy, and so she's gonna go with it. And her son, her firstborn, her son, is so manipulative and so, I mean, you can't say that a 3-year-old has psychopathy, but it's really sort of how it feels. The battle of wills between the mother and the son, literally his entire life, and how he especially as he gets older, he totally gaslights the father. The father thinks that he's just like a normal guy, normal great kid, because he's completely gaslighted his father. And there's a little sister, and he does terrible things to her, and finds ways to manipulate the situation so it's not really blamed on him. Meanwhile, his mom knows who he really is the whole time, and it's just horrifying. So it's really rough. I do always recommend that you read the book. And if you need to see the movie, that you read the book first. You're going to get far more details and far more understanding of what the characters are feeling and thinking and going through, simply because of the medium. So that's why I'm always going to suggest you read the book, and before you see the movie. But the movie is brilliantly acted by Tilda Swinton plays the mom, and she's brilliant, horrifying, brilliant. Okay, we are up to number 7. This is, I actually put the entire series on here, but we can just start with the first book, which is Bad Games by Jeff Menapace. I believe it's Menapace. All the audiobooks pronounce it that way except for one. One has a woman who says Menapace. I don't think that's right. I think it's Menapace, but I could be wrong. So this is a story of a beautiful, happy, wonderful family who gets targeted by 2 sociopathic brothers that just love to mess with people. If you've seen the movie Funny Games, this is sort of like an elongated Funny Games, instead of it just being like, you know, how it gets to the next morning if you've seen the movie, and they say, oh, well, it's over, okay. This is, I mean, not only is it more than a day, it's years. It ends up being, because of the there's a whole series of books, so it ends up being just years of this awful family just messing with this other family in just these terrible ways, and it's just so heartbreaking. And it's one of the books that proved to me that I like more disturbing books than my friends. This was one of the ones where they're like, I can't, this is awful, how can you listen to it? Not that it's awfully written, it's Jeff Menapace is a wonderful author, but it's just so dark for some people. So, but that's why you're here, right? Right. Okay, so we're at number 6. Number 6 is the book Brother by Ania Ahlborn, I believe is how we say it. And this story, again, I guess what I find horrifying is the way that humans manipulate each other. Because this one is definitely just horrifying. This poor child is ripped out of his family's home and ends up having to be with this other family who are just depraved, immoral, unethical, horrible people. And it's called Brother because the main character's older brother is really his biggest abuser. He's the one who beats him up the most. He's the one that hurts him the most. He's the one that manipulates him the most. The one that messes with him the most. And he, this kid is trying to convince himself that he has some goodness still left in him, that he hasn't been made completely into a monster by this new family that he's with. And it's just this internal struggle of trying to be good, and feeling like a total and complete monster. And it's devastating. But I read the whole thing and enjoyed it. I don't know what that says about me, that I like these books. Okay, so we're up to number 5. So we're at the top 5 here. So the next one is by Kealan Patrick Burke, and it's called Kin. This one has a little bit of the same kind of feel to Brother, in that it's a real messed up family, and there's like one decent, kid in the family. I mean, that's where the similarities end. But what got me into wanting to read this book to begin with was, the description on the back that says, I guess that's not really accurate back on the description on the back, right? They're not on the back anymore, they're online. But anyway, the description of the book says that it starts where a a final girl horror film ends. Like, just as she's getting away. Like, she's managed to get on that car that was going past, the terrible farmhouse that all of her friends have now died and have been destroyed and mutilated and hurt and killed, and she's, mutilated and needs to go to the hospital and might not make it, and manages to get into the car of someone passing by and makes it to the hospital. That's where this story starts. So this depraved family is very, very upset that one of their victims gets away. And the reason that one of the victims gets away is this young member of the family who is not immoral. And the way that he has to sort of navigate the family and try to figure out, again, does he be bad and follow, his family? Does he try to be more, morally, ethically correct? What happened to his sister that was that way? Oh, she seems to be disappeared. Why is that? I mean, it's just, but this one, the family is run by Papa in gray and Mama in bed. So think of Mama as being so morbidly obese that she can't leave the bed. Okay, so she like literally lives in the bed. And at one point they have to move the family, and the way that they move Mama in bed and our young, morally, ethically correct child in the family, how the two of them get moved from where they are when the story starts to where they feel they need to run to, is something that has stayed with me and will stay with me. I will be 92 and have no idea what my name is, and I will still remember that scene. So that's why it gets to be number 5 on my list. Okay. So next is number 4. I have a Palahniuk, I think that's how you say it, book. He's the one that wrote Fight Club. A lot of people put Haunted on their list of most disturbing books, which is, it's a good book and it's disturbing, but I kind of feel like one part of it is really disturbing and not like, well, a lot of it is disturbing. But anyway, I've chosen Snuff, and the reason I've chosen Snuff is because if you know anything about Chuck Palahniuk, if you know anything about Chuck Palahniuk, you know that he is a nihilist. So all of his stories have sort of this dark underlying, like, oh, what are you saying about the world? Oh, the world sucks. It was capitalism all along. So this book is about an aging porn star who has decided that her last big event, stunt, that's probably better. Her last big stunt is going to be having sex with 600 men in one day, like one right after the other, 600 men. And the story takes place in the green room where all the men are waiting their turn, right? So they're referred to by their numbers. We have 72 and 137 and Mr. 600, and all of them are there for different reasons, and all of them have different experiences, and all of them are worried that this isn't really a porn, it's really a snuff film, because it's not safe to have sex 600 times one sitting. An air embolism could very well kill this porn star, and so that's the dichotomy of the fact that they're making a porn, but it's called Snuff. Snuff is what a film that depicts an actual murder is called a snuff film, for those of you who don't know that. So yeah, and the end is something I could never, ever have fathomed. Like, I remember thinking, I don't know how this is going to end. I don't know if this is going to be that her stunt is going to be successful, or if it's not going to be successful, or what's going to happen to this guy or that. Like, I didn't really know how it was going to go, but I definitely did not think it was going to go where it went. And I love when a story does that. It means that you're keeping me on my toes, and I love it. So Okay. Next on my list is, for number 3, is a book by Matthew Stokoe, and it is called Cows. Now, this is so far high up on my list because it's just disgusting. Like, this is just gross. Like, so gross. Like, if you are someone who gets sick from reading descriptions of things, you will not make it through this book without a vomit bucket, because it is truly one of the grossest things I've probably ever read. So it also, I mean, every trigger warning, I mean, all of these come with trigger warnings, but everything depraved that you could, I mean, think of, uh, essay, R word, um, cruelty to animals, R word to animals, and then a great, great deal of poop talk. And uh, there's a lot of poop eating that happens, and I'm just gonna leave that there. And I mean, there's self abortion. It's just. So it's the story of Stephen, our main character. He lives in an apartment. He's about 25. He lives in an apartment with his mother, who he only refers to as the hag beast. She is extremely overweight and in complete control of him, like controls everything he does. And well, he gets a job at a slaughterhouse, hence the name Cows. And the guy who runs the slaughterhouse is depraved to a level I couldn't even begin to explain. And he does terrible things to the cows, and he does terrible things to his employees, and to our main character Stephen. He has a girlfriend who lives upstairs who is obsessed with the idea that evil is growing within our bodies, between our organs, and so she is always sort of finding little animals and taking them apart and trying to find the evil. And so she's sort of a mess, and Stephen just wants to be married and have children and live like a family on TV. And that's all he wants. And so sort of at this point in the story, the cows start talking to him. Turns out some of the cows have gotten away from the slaughterhouse and have started their own community, and he gets sucked into that community. I think the thing that I enjoy about the fact that all of a sudden cows start talking is that this sort of pretty realistic story becomes sort of science fiction, which makes it easier to handle, I think, personally. So, but like I said, it's just really, really, really gross. Like, it's just super, super gross. Like, people put it on their list as the most depraved book, but I think that's because they just can't handle how gross it is. At least that's my take on it. I mean, it is number 3 on my list, so I'm not saying it's an easy read. But okay, so now we're at number 2. Number 2, Blindness. This is another one that's a movie. Highly suggest you read the book. Much more upsetting, much more disturbing. But the movie is actually pretty good if you want to watch a movie after you've read the book. This is the story of a man who is driving. I don't know if he's driving to the doctors or he's driving home from work. He's driving somewhere. I can't remember. And he loses sight. He's all of a sudden blind. And it's like, what's like out of nowhere? He just can't see. And they take him. His wife takes him to the hospital, and they, there's tests and things. I can't figure it out. And then other people start going blind. Other people around town start going blind that are also for no reason and no explanation, and it doesn't make any sense. And so now they think that, the government obviously thinks that it's some sort of virus, sickness, something that's contagious. So the first people who go blind are put into a facility, and the world sort of falls apart as our main characters are in this facility because everyone else goes blind. And if you think about how debilitating blind can be, the message is the things that people will do when they feel like they can't be seen. Human beings are willing to do pretty depraved things if they think they're not being seen, or immoral or unethical things if they think they can't be seen. And the wife of our main character, who the entire story is just waiting to go blind and waiting to go blind and waiting to go blind, never goes blind. So she is our eyes for the entire story, and we get to see, literally, we get to see what no one else is seeing, and the depraved behavior that people do. And I mean, just the mess, like you can't see the mess you've made, so you can't clean it up. So, I mean, just the absolute mess of the world. But there's, far more disturbing things than the mess. And it's not a book that you should go into expecting to get answers on why this happened. This is not one of your, oh, well, they discovered that, War of the Worlds, the germs of the earth killed the aliens. No, you're not, I can promise you right now, you're not going to ever know what made them blind. So if you're someone who needs a clear answer from the books you're reading, this is not the one for you. But that's really not the point. The point is what we are willing to do when we can't be seen. And the way that vision is so important to our communities and culture as human beings in a global, or even just a neighborhood community. Okay, we have reached number one. Number one is Yellow by Aron Beauregard. And this one it's got everything depraved in it. The reason that I like it is because it's a revenge. Most of Aron Beauregard's stories are revenge stories. And I love a good revenge story, especially when someone is so hurt that they're willing to, the character is willing to go to the final degree. So like literally sacrifice their own life to be able to destroy the people who destroyed their loved one or what have you. Because our main character in this does not just go after the person who hurt him and his wife. He tortures that man until he is told who is actually in charge in their town, who is the terrible person at the top of their corrupted town. And you get to meet that character, and that character is horrifying. And the things that character does in this book is another thing that's going to stay with me. I'm going to be 92, not know my name, and I'll still remember the horrible things that character engages in. But this, so Yellow is a man who buys a convenience store in like the up and coming area of a city. It's now 25 years later. The up and coming area of the city did not become the up and coming area of the city. In fact, it is completely destroyed. It's hoodlums, it's mob, it's mafia, it's corrupted cops. And his store is not going well. And he has an interaction with one of the mob dudes in his store where the mob dude thinks he's being disrespected. And so he shows up later and at this man and woman's apartment, where he beats the holy hell out of our main character, the man, and then and essays, well, really our words, both the wife and him, and he ends up in the hospital. And while he's in the hospital, these depraved humans come back and continue to visit his wife. But he decides he's going to exact revenge, and he does, and it's rough. The things that happen to him and his wife are rough. The things that he does to the other people, the things that the other people try to do to him to get, it's just, but it's a good revenge story. And I really, really enjoyed the revenge part of it and the getting back at these guys. So I have only read one book by Aron Beauregard, but I'm very excited to read some more. I'm excited to check out Slob, I think, is the next one on my list to read. So I'm looking forward to that. So those are my top 13 most depraved books that I have read, that I've gotten through, because there are some books out there that I don't get all the way through. I have to put down because they're too disturbing, and those I really don't feel like I could recommend to other people. So I'm not saying don't read these books, but know what you're in for when you are reading them, and be sure that you are in the right mind space to handle it. Take care of yourselves. Be nice to each other. Be nice to yourself. And I'll see you next time. Bye.